Hi YouTube, so today I'm going to be talking about Sun in the 4th house. I'm sorry that this video has been placed on hold. I just got distracted, honestly, I came up with more ideas, so I started filming those videos, and I'm sorry, I'm really anyways, so the Sun is kind of our ego, it's our identity, it's the outer shell of the onion, in a sense. Whatever house the Sun falls into is the area of our life that we find identity with. It is kind of, I say like the ascendant is the first thing people see about us, and then whatever house our Sun is in is like the second thing people see ourselves as. It's because that's where we identify with. It's where we find kind of a sense of belonging. Now, the 4th house is traditionally ruled by Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. Also represents the mother. It represents the childhood upbringing. It also represents culture, tradition, our roots, and just where we find a sense of home. Now, a lot of us identify home with where we live. And that may be true for people that have Sun in the 4th house. But home is also just a sense of belonging. So if you are someone that has a Sun in the 4th house, but doesn't really identify with their roots, their family background and culture, and maybe just with their family in general, then you may be someone who searches for that sense of home and belonging through other people, through your friends, through whatever it may be. You just search through home through something else, and you long for that sense of home, and you constantly are on the lookout for it. This can also play out if you are a Sun in the 4th house that is more introspective in regards to their own identity. A lot of you guys may have difficulty separating who you think you are from who you are in relation to your family, what your parents think you are, what your tradition and your culture identifies you as. Because, like for example, because you grew up in a Mexican household, you therefore identify yourself as a Mexican and don't identify yourself as anything else other than that. So there can be a search for trying to find identity outside of the family, a sense of home outside of the tradition, of the roots of the culture. Now that's for a percentage of people with Sun in the 4th house. Majority of Sun in the 4th house are going to fall into the category of deeply identifying with their roots and deeply identifying with their culture and tradition, and being able to separate their identity, their personal identity. They're able to separate their personal identity from their family. You know what I mean? So they're able to kind of assimilate into other cultures and other things and assimilate with other people, but still have that really deep, sorry, my phone went off, but still have that really deep-rooted sense of self, deep-rooted self of family, and that deep connection to their homeland, to their mother, okay, or to a predominant female character in their lives. Now, this also shows someone that may have been that relied heavily on the mother. The mother may have played both roles for the father and for the mother herself. It may have been a little bit difficult in the early years, and then the mother was blessed later on in life and found stability and tranquility later as you grew up. But when you were a child and you still didn't understand the world and family or father and mother, you just understood mother. Mother takes care of me. Mother helps me. Mother is my source of nourishment, of protection. So she may have actually struggled very, very greatly when you were just an infant or a toddler and you still couldn't understand that. There could be that aspect where it was the father that was the predominant parent and the mother was absent. Either way, there can be a theme of one parent being the source of reliability for the child with the Sun in the 4th house. Now, if it was a father that was a predominant figure, the child may grow up to have mother issues, trying to, if it's a female, she may have a hard time with her femininity or connecting with women or accepting nourishment and that nurturing quality from anybody in her life. So this is when the negative aspects play out. She may grow up to have walls. Now, if she grew up with a predominant mother figure, it may be hard for her to either trust men. She may take on that role of the independent woman, where it may be hard for her to let a man into her life and take care of her, just because she grew up understanding that a woman can take care of herself, can take care of a child, can do everything for herself. So she'll take on that more independent energy, and men may be actually intimidated to approach her. Now, if it was a male who grew up with a mother and not a father, he might have a lot of issues really connecting to his masculinity growing up. When we're talking the teenage phase, the early 20s. As life for anybody with sun in the fourth house, as life progresses and you've dealt with inner childhood traumas or inner childhood revelations and stuff like that, then life will get easier. So identifying with your masculinity and femininity gets easier. But I'm just saying the early upbringing we're talking about here. So if he grew up with just a mother, he may have issues connecting with other males and just making friends with boys, and he might connect easier with women. That's not to say whether he's straight or gay or whatever. It's just that he's able to connect with women a lot better, and he actually just may be that guy that attracts a lot of women, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be anything with sexual orientation. And if he grew up with a father, the father may have actually been very nurturing. Both parents here seem to be a little bit on the nurturing side, unless there's other aspects that indicate that they're not. Really depends on the house and other planets that are there. So the father may have been of a more feminine quality, of a more feminine character, or it could have been the complete opposite, and he could have been very masculine, and the boy may have a very hard time finding connecting with the feminine side, connecting with females, understanding what feminine energy is healthy and what feminine energy is toxic. A lot of the times when there's that imbalance in the household regarding parentals, there can be a very hard time finding healthy relationships or understanding healthy relationships or being able to connect with people that had a healthy upbringing. You know what I mean? You may attract people that didn't have a healthy upbringing because you find oneness or a being able to relate with them. But also you have to remember that people that grew up in toxic households tend to have toxic behaviors, therefore leading you to end up in relationships that are unhealthy. When this happens, you may have, you connect and you are more of an emotional being than other suns and houses would be. So relationships are taken very seriously. It's like a Cancer sun, similar to a Cancer sun. And Cancers take relationships and their love very, very serious and deeply. Their friends are their family. Their lover is their family. So when those things end, it can be very traumatic for them, or not necessarily like traumatic in that abusive sense where it's like PTSD, but more of a every heartbreak brings more revelation of self if they really deeply analyze what they need, who they are, why they are the way that they are, who they need to attract into their life, and what kind of upbringing this person needs to have, what kind of behaviors this person needs to have. They also are more likely to try to bring people home that their parents will accept. They may have had a stricter household, and their parents may have wanted them to be a certain way and act a certain way, get certain grades and all this. So there's a certain standard when it comes to bringing people home to their family. Doesn't mean that they won't accept you, just means that they probably won't bring you home if they understand that their parents won't like you. They're very protective of their loved ones, of their friends. of their mother especially, or just of females in general. You'll find that the males here are very sympathetic towards women and find this need to protect the feminine energy, to protect the females. If they are siblings, if they have siblings, they're going to be very protective over them. There's a desire to stick to family tradition if they grew up very immersed into it, and they'll want to find someone that can accept and understand their family tradition. That is why they might find it difficult to bring certain people home, because if they're proud of their roots, if they're proud of their cultures, that means that you have to accept that. So if they kind of sense that you won't understand them, then they won't bring you home. And also a reason for this is that you may not understand that how much home and roots mean to them. But an example is if you are, let's say, of Asian background and you grew up in America, but your parents are traditionally from an Asian country or whatever. So at home, you have a completely different lifestyle. But at school and at work and with your friends, you are able to act like an American, that American traditional lifestyle, where it's a little bit more about freedom and independence and, a little bit more about ambition and, I don't know, just you're able to assimilate well with the American culture and the American kids. But at home, you have a very strict Asian household, with certain values and morals and beliefs, so these American people may not understand that you have that at home, okay? So they might be like, oh, let's have a sleepover, let's stay at your house, but you might be very self-conscious about what those people think about who your family is, who your roots are. You may not be even embarrassed by it. You're just a little bit more concerned on how that person may accept your home life and your family and your tradition and your culture. That is why they may be reluctant to bring you home if they can't sense that you're accepting, because they're very accepting of other people, because they have that understanding of culture, of tradition, of religion, of all of this stuff, because they actually might carry two personas. And that's also when the search for identity comes in. When you grow up in a different country and your family is from a different country, or you find peace with a different religion than your family, that's when that whole search for identity and that whole wanting to separate away to find new roots may formulate. You know what I mean? That search for something greater than what you thought you knew you were. So naturally, there may be a strict upbringing or certain expectations of you in the household, but that's only because your character, your personality needs structure and it needs stability, with the 10th house being Capricorn there. So you're going to need, well, not Capricorn, but like the 10th house is ruled by Saturn in Capricorn. So like across from it is the 4th house of home and family and roots, just meaning that your home and family and roots just need some structure. You feel me? You feel? So you grew up probably with some structure, or you needed structure. Your mom probably had expectations, your father, all of these expectations come up, and there might have been a compliance to it, or just, and you may be someone that adapted very well to that structure, but there also may be some of you guys that because you feel as if you're not good enough or whatever, you just always wanted to please your family. You may be very sad or hurt that like you feel as if you can't live up to your family's expectations of you, so you would push yourself to gain the recognition, push yourself to gain the acceptance of your family. There's this need of like, even if you don't feel as if you're worthy for your family or feel as if your family will accept you, you will try to make them, even if that's forcing you to be who they want you to be. So yeah, there's a growing up, life does get better, like I said, and when it comes to searching for planning your own roots and starting your own family, you're going to search for a partner that, first of all, you're going to need a partner that's very stable and grounded, very stable and grounded. Do not even try to marry someone that's like emotionally messed up, okay? You need someone that can kind of balance out that watery fourth house energy. Someone that can provide that stable household. Like I said, you need structure. Um, because you yourself may not be so structured emotionally, but the people around you need to be of structure, okay? Need to be able to structure you in a sense. Uh, let's see. So your upbringing will permanently affect the way that you psychologically view yourself, the way that you psychologically view others, and the way that you view the world, and the way that you view other cultures and religions and traditions. You might be very introspective and probe very deeply. Just understand that the way that you react to things and the way that you are now is because of the way that you were raised. Now, let's say you may not you have done a lot of inner healing and self work, you may be a lot different than how your upbringing may indicate that you would behave now. Like if you grew up in an abusive home, you might end up being abusive, but because you've done spiritual work, you're not like that anymore. So there's that, and that's because of the introspective quality that they may have, that self-probing quality of the past. They self-probe um, the past. They probe the past. They analyze the past. They reminisce of the past and past hurts and past joys and past happiness. And if they're feeling sad or whatever, they may reminisce about family. They have this kind of energy where they miss their childhood. You know that feeling when it's like when your childhood and holidays are just like you look forward to them, you know what I mean? And your childhood, it's so innocent, and you have these imaginary friends, and life just seems simpler and beautiful, and you were nurtured and taken care of. When reality hits and these people grow up, before they fully become an adult, they actually may go through a very depressive state, realizing how fucked up everything may have been if there's any traumatic issues in the household and stuff like that. They may have a hard time dealing with the way that life actually is, that whole growing up thing, when they have to realize that now they have to take care of themselves. Now there's not that innocence and that child magic that they once had. Altering and shifting those paradigms for them may be very difficult and may have been very hard to adjust, but they're also very strong souls with a lot of endurance to keep going. And the more that they keep going, the better life gets, because they have this perseverance and they have this outlook of what they want their future to be like, what they want their home life to be like. So even if they encounter depression and anxiety or whatever it may be, mental illnesses that they acquire, as they grow up, they have this idealistic view of their future that really helps them to keep going, even when things seem kind of hopeless. Um, and they do reminisce about past lovers, they reminisce about past friends, past holidays. Their house may have been where everybody gathered for the holidays, stuff like that. So they'll reminisce about that. They'll reminisce about their ex a lot too. Um, they could have been the baby of the family, and their birth brought the family together one way or another. It may have brought in the two parents' family together, like the grandparents and the grandmas. Both families just kind of united one way or another. There may have been the death of a parent, which will take a toll on the child's life greatly once he starts to understand and grasp that he doesn't have a parent. And then there may be a search for wanting to understand who that parent was, why. It's like a searching. They'll search to understand why things happen in their family, why those things happened, and how they affected them. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. If there's anything you feel as if I left out, leave a comment. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.